Welcome to the first edition of the Dead Author Interviews, the only show where our guests are really hard to schedule, even harder to cancel, and have been dead long enough to stop worrying about bad reviews. My guest today is Charlotte Perkins-Gilman, the author of books like The Yellow Wallpaper, somewhat autobiographical, Her Land, Moving the Mountains, Women and Economics, and many short story collections. She was a sociologist, lecturer, feminist, and a woman who was challenging society's expectations way before it was fashionable. Charlotte, oh my gosh, it's so great to have you here. I know you traveled a long way.
I can't believe how we did this.
I don't know. It was like I was channeling you, and then all of a sudden you appeared.
I was here,
It
right?
was magic, but I'm so glad you are. So tell me a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background before you became the famous feminist of the late 1800s.
Gladly. I was born on July 3rd, 1860, in Hartford, Connecticut. I was the youngest of two. I have an older brother, Thomas. During my childhood, father abandoned mom, forcing us into poverty.
Oh my God. How?
Yes.
How did your mother deal with that? How was she able to raise the two of you?
It was difficult for her. It was. She had to work to support us, which was difficult back then, was almost unheard of. She, I believe, survived by pushing everything in. As a matter of fact, I never really heard an encouraging word from her unless she believed I was asleep.
Really?
Right.
Oh, that's interesting. Tell me what you'd hear her say.
Well, she would only compliment me if she didn't think I could hear her, and that was when I was asleep. So sometimes I would pretend.
Oh, did you ever say anything to her about that?
Never.
Did you talk to her? Never?
No, it was not done.
It wasn't, was it? Yeah.
But it was good for me to hear.
Well, thank God some kids don't ever hear that, right?
Right.
At least you got something. So, wow. God bless your mother, really.
This is true.
And look what she created. Look who she created. Tell me about, I know you were married. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I was attending the Rhode Island School of Design, which was amazing. I was even there because I was largely self-educated. I'm in public libraries. I read everything. But in 1884, I married an artist, a fellow artist, Charles Walter Stetson. We did have one daughter, Catherine, in 1885. But by 1887, I was suffering greatly with what you call now postpartum depression.
Mm-hmm.
Back in my day, it was neurasthenia.
Mm-hmm.
And I was treated by a well-respected, but truly quite ignorant on this front, neurologist by the name of Silas Weir Mitchell, who told me I needed the rest cure.
So he wanted you to sort of go and hide yourself away. I mean, God, the rest cure. Tell me a little bit more about that. What does that mean? I would love to have the rest cure, but I have a feeling it doesn't mean what I think it does. Can you expound on that a little bit?
Absolutely. And no, I don't think you would like it much. There was to be no writing, no intellectual work, plenty of enforced domesticity, if you will.
Oh.
I was to have my daughter by my side as much as possible.
So no rest.
No rest. Well, no socializing either. I could not visit friends. Friends could not visit me. It was completely rest.
You were in prison.
Basically, that is what it felt like.
Wow.
But of course, I didn't know that at the time. At the time, it sounded almost good to me. I was willing to try it because I felt that bad. I was dubious, though. I really was, because at that time, men who were severely depressed were encouraged to engage in vigorous physical activity and then write about their experiences. But I did try the rest cure, and it nearly broke me.
Really?
Directly due to that experience. That's why I wrote The Yellow Wallpaper.
did you go somewhere while you were resting? Like in the Yellow Wallpaper, he took her to that beautiful house in the country where everything started to deteriorate. Um, Tell me, I mean, or
Yes,
did you
that
stay
part.
home, or was that fiction? Was that,
No, that part was true.
okay.
We did go, and there was hideous wallpaper, just like that.
Did you see things in the wallpaper moving and
It was,
falling?
it was an interesting time, to say the
Wow.
least.
Oh my God.
Yes,
It's amazing you got out of that alive, huh? Very
it did
interesting.
nearly break me. It did.
Wow.
So,
So I understand that you and Charles didn't make it. What happened?
well, it was directly after. It was really directly after this rest cure. It really, I had a nervous breakdown after that.
Oh,
So a real one. And when I came back from that, I could not handle really being married anymore. But we didn't directly divorce. We separated, which is also unheard of.
mhm.
And then I moved to Pasadena, California. So at that point, that's when I became involved with social reform movements like women's suffrage and the American Sociological Association. That's when I started to write essays and poems, things like that. That's actually when I wrote The Yellow Wallpaper.
Wow. Was your daughter with you at the time? Did you bring her with you to California? I mean, how did that work out in that day as far as um, custody if you're separated?
I actually did bring her with me.
Oh,
She
okay.
was with me, and she and I stayed with my best friend there. And actually, my best friend later, became Charles's second wife.
Oh, God. Wow, that's a whole other pathway.
But I was very happy for
No,
them.
I
I
bet
really
you.
was.
Oh,
I
my
was. And
God.
because she was already acquainted, Catherine was already acquainted with my best friend. So when they married, I was very happy to have her go and live with them.
So, okay, so Charles married your best friend. What was her name?
Grace
Grace.
Channing. Mhm.
Okay. Charles married Grace Channing, which, like you said, is wonderful because Catherine, your daughter, already had a loving relationship with her. So
This is
that's
true. Yes.
wonderful. That's so important. What about you? Were you alone the rest of your life? Did you ever remarry?
I did remarry. I remarried in 1900 after everything, after I wrote The Yellow Wallpaper. My mother died.
Oh,
After my mother died, I moved back east.
uh-huh.
And there, while I was there, I met my second husband. Actually, I already knew him.
Oh,
He was my first cousin, which is slightly.
Charlotte.
I know.
We're getting into other areas of things that that's not even okay today.
I know.
Interest.
We didn't have children though, so that's.
Okay, well, that's important. That's important.
He was a Wall Street attorney. His name
Oh,
was Houghton Gilman. Houghton.
oh,
Mhm.
okay.
So
All
I
right.
didn't plan on marrying him. This was not on my radar.
Okay.
But we started communicating
Uh-huh.
together and just grew closer and closer. And then it just didn't make sense not to marry.
Oh, all right. That's all right. I that's so you just are amazing me more and more as this interview goes on. I'm so glad you were able to come today. Let's get into your education. Tell me about that. How were you able to write a book about economics, being a self-taught woman in that time period?
I was actually a very poor student, if you can believe that,
I
which is
can't.
why I spent a lot of time in the library. But my father actually was instrumental in this. Even though he abandoned mother, he didn't abandon me, and we would write back and forth a lot.
Uh-huh.
So he's the one that actually informed the things that I was going to read. So he would send me lists of books about history and physics and philosophy and things like that. So I that is how I was able to do this He actually educated me.
So,
Kind of.
so you read the books and you innately understood those topics, or were you able to have a discourse with him
Oh,
on
we
that?
wrote letters, a lot of
Okay.
letters back and forth.
Okay.
Mhm.
So he could really explain all those things to you. That's fabulous.
I
Really.
got to know the librarians too.
Well, that's helpful. So, Charlotte, let's talk about Herland since we just finished up the podcast. You wrote a novel about an isolated civilization made up entirely of women who reproduce without men. Now, that was a pretty incredible concept back then. What made you decide to travel down that road? Were there any idiot men in particular that pushed you too far? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, my work mostly centered around women's issues,
Mhm.
particularly the issue of self-determination, not being dependent upon men, but society ordering it. So I began by thinking what a society of women would look like.
Mhm.
And then I introduced that society to 3 men. Okay. As for my particular men muses,
Uh-huh.
I had plenty to choose from.
Oh, good.
I think
Was
we all do.
Charles or Dr. Silas one of those people?
Perhaps.
Okay.
I mean,
They probably did come into that amalgam that you talk about, right?
correct. Pieces of everybody you know.
Right.
Instead of focusing on them, though, what I did is I made 3 amalgams to suit the
Mhm.
story.
Okay.
So, and I don't know if you know this, but originally it was not a book. I published this in serialized form in my monthly magazine, The Forerunner.
I did not know
So
that.
I had time to develop the characters and the story, and once I was done, then it became a book.
Oh my gosh. That's
Yeah.
so interesting. That's a great way to write a book, isn't it? You know,
I think it's
having
the best way. You can have
weekly episodes and then bringing
exactly
them all together. I love
monthly.
that.
Yeah.
What surprises you most about modern readers discussing Herland,
That they're still discussing it.
right?
I would have hoped
Same.
kind of for more progress by now, but at least the story is still informing minds.
Absolutely, because we still have a long way to go. You know,
Uh,
women still don't get paid the same as men in many situations, still in this day. So there are still places where we need to change things.
so I still fit right in. Is that what you're
Yes, you
saying to me?
do, Charlotte. You could come back and I don't think you wouldn't skip a beat. I think you'd be just
That's
fine. You just have to change your clothes.
that's
But honestly,
that's kind of sad, isn't
right?
it?
And it is.
Yeah, it is.
So, Charlotte, let's talk about how they reproduce in Herland. Women are able to conceive without anyone's help. Is
Yes.
this something that you thought might come to pass one day in the future? Can you tell me a little bit more about that process? Because although we do have, artificial insemination, we have surrogates, we still need the sperm, right? But basically in Herland, they don't. Tell me about that.
Well, I already knew about parthenogenesis from my studies of science and natural sciences. It is a real thing. It is a real thing. Um, Plants do it. Certain invertebrates do it. And certain other species do it. For instance, worms. Worms can do that. Like a male will get pregnant, turn itself into a female and get pregnant.
Well, does the seahorse, I know the males carry the baby with the
Right.
seahorse. I know we're getting a little off topic here, but I think it's fascinating that
Yeah.
in Herland, not only were they able to do that, but they were also able to only have girls, right?
Right. Yes.
How did
That
they do
was
that? That's, is that just your mind? Kind
that
of,
was just my
that
mind.
was
Yes.
just,
And
taking dramatic license.
it was the way to move the story forward, but it also was based on real science. I never imagined, honestly, that it would ever occur in humans.
Wow.
It was just a device.
And as far as I know, it has not. But who knows what's going to happen? Things are
This is
moving
true.
fast in this day and age. We just don't
Certain
know.
things really are moving very quickly.
Wow, it is. That's crazy. Charlotte, one thing that was a little bit disconcerting in Herland was when you talk about selective breeding. What were you thinking with that? What was your thought process?
I was mainly thinking about society.
Okay.
And in that story, you see that one of the men ask, where are the troublemakers? And what we say is that we suppress them. That is, and how we do that is once we see that somebody is not is not the kind of person that is kind enough, we encourage that person on their own not to reproduce, to suppress. And that is how we selectively breed them out.
So, Charlotte, that smacks of eugenics, no?
Well, it is. It is eugenics.
It is eugenics. Wow, that's a powder keg. Is this something that, I don't know how to ask you this, is this something that you were a proponent of? And I don't want to put you on the spot here, but we're having an honest discussion.
It is something that I believe in, yes.
Okay.
We want only the best intentions here, though. Be very careful.
Okay.
Because we are not advocating death.
You're advocating forced sterilization.
We are advocating breeding the best for society.
That's
encouraging.
WW2. All right.
Well, you have the benefit of 100 years.
That's right. I'm kind of sitting here with my jaw dropping on the floor. And you were an intellect of the time. And so, everybody's got their beliefs. So
it was my main concern, however, was not truly eugenics. My main concern was women's place in society.
I get that. But I do take issue with the selective breeding, the eugenics. I did not know that about you. And I appreciate your honesty with that. I really do. I think that there's a lot of people that are going to do a double take or have a jaw drop. But thank you for being honest about that. I appreciate that. We're going to move on. All right. We're going to move on.
All right.
Okay. Well, what surprised you most when you were writing Herland?
What surprised me is even though I knew very well that I lived in a patriarchal society, however, it was difficult to write from a purely feminine viewpoint with no male adjectives, no male descriptors. It's surprising how entrenched society's language and attitudes are. So that was the most difficult. That was the most surprising thing, is I had to develop only a female attitude.
Point of view. Yeah.
Only female.
That's crazy. I love that. All right, we're gonna move away from Herland for a minute. What's just a couple of quick fun questions. What's the most overrated Victorian custom? Tell me about that.
Overrated Victoria. Oh, it's a petty social custom called cutting. Cutting, right. That was the practice of publicly ignoring someone who had offended you, or simply someone you no longer wished to acknowledge.
Oh, so you're ghosting. Now that's ghosting.
Oh, I was almost ready to say I'm certainly glad it's gone, but apparently it's not.
It's not gone.
Okay.
Ghosting. Now, cutting in our society today is a completely different thing that we're not going to go into now.
Okay.
But yeah, that's called ghosting. So it's still around, not even Victorian. So Charlotte, as we're kind of coming a little bit towards the end of our time, how did you die?
I was diagnosed with terminal breast cancer in the 1930s. I have kind of eavesdropped all along the way, and I know that the treatments have very much advanced. But back in the 1930s, there weren't very many. I know this is controversial now, but it was even back then. I chose to end my own life in 1935 rather than continue with my suffering.
That's very brave.
Um, it isn't when you believe that's the only choice.
It's still brave to make that decision because it's moving into the unknown. And I think, so many people are, well, we do have actually in today's, it's still not completely accepted, but assisted euthanasia. There are people
Right,
who choose
euthanasia.
to
Hmm.
terminate their own life, and in some states that is legal. You
Oh,
can
it
do
is.
that. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. However, back then, I think that was a monumental to make that decision for
Well,
yourself.
I did make it very clear. I
Yeah.
did leave behind a note, and I expressed that I was choosing chloroform over cancer.
Boy, Charlotte, you are fascinating. I have to tell you, this time spent with you has been an eye-opener. And it's something I never expected. I thought I knew a lot about you, but boy,
Oh,
um,
well, I'm glad to have been here for this.
I am glad to have had you. So tell me, how difficult was it to get released from the afterlife for this interview? Tell me about that.
Well, it wasn't difficult at all. We've been waiting for something like this. We've
Oh,
all Yes, there are many that would love to be me right now. I,
oh,
I hope this is going to be more than me.
oh my God, yes. I mean, is there a dead author sign-up sheet in the afterlife? I'm just wondering.
There's a long line. There is a
Okay. Because High Horse Press has a lot of audiobooks from the public domain. I've got a lot of different narrators that have narrated those books. And down the road, we plan to meet with the authors that wrote those books once we podcast them. So I'm very excited about this segment. And I hope when you go back, you tell everyone what's the biggest misconception that people have about you?
that I'm a one-trick pony.
Hmm.
I hope you don't mind the pun.
Oh, that was very good. Thank you. High Horse Press. Okay.
It's true that I was a poor student, and I did tell you that before,
Uh-huh.
but I did spend a lot of time in the public library, and I
Uh-huh.
was, and continue to be, interested in philosophy, physics, medicine, economics, especially as it pertains to women in society, yes,
Mhm.
but also in general. Women are the greatest overlooked natural resource. I've
Isn't that
come to
interesting?
understand that.
How about some advice for writers who are struggling to be heard?
Well, first, do not quit. The struggle is preparing you. Second, believe in your message. Otherwise, how are others going to believe it? Also, do not isolate yourself. Be open to new learning. The best part of my monthly magazine, The Forerunner,
Mhm.
was the discussion it created. I read every letter that my magazine generated. I answered as many as I could. A closed mind cannot breathe.
Oh, I love that.
Your message will become stale if your mind does.
Mm.
So be brave.
Boy, Charlotte, I can't thank you enough for joining us today. It's been an honor to chat with you. I mean, I know you've got a long trip back, and how are you getting there? Is there Uber or a shuttle back to the afterlife?
Well,
How are you getting
first of all,
back? Do you need a ride?
first of all, it's been my pleasure. I
Oh,
have
thank
really
you.
enjoyed talking with you.
Oh, it's been great.
As for how I'm going to get back, there is a transport for us to return, but if it is only for the dead.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay. Charlotte, thank you so much for coming in and spending the time with me today and for giving me all this information. I know our High Horse Press listeners are going to just eat this up. You've been an amazing guest. I know you have a long journey back and come back anytime. I mean, I know one of my narrators is narrating the Yellow Wallpaper, so I may have you back on that.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah.
Well,
You
this has been
you
my
may have
pleasure.
a return trip.
Oh, well, our
So,
transport is available always, so
oh,
it's
good to
okay.
know. Good to know. I was
Mhm.
wondering if you had an Uber or a shuttle, but
It's
no,
not a one-way, it's two-way, but
it's
only
a
for
two-way.
me.
Only for you.
Only for
you.
me.
Only
Well, only for
today.
us. Only for
Okay.
us.
Only for the dead
Only for the
authors.
dead.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you, Charlotte. You've been amazing.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
And there you have it. That was Charlotte Perkins-Gilman. Proof that great ideas never really die. Next month, I am hoping to have Frances Hodgson Burnett, as we'll be airing The Secret Garden and A Little Princess. So stay tuned for that. And I've been getting some really cool questions from listeners. If anyone has any great ideas for the podcast and wants to get in touch with me, you can message me through my High Horse Press Facebook page or at highhorsepress@gmail.com. I'd love to hear your ideas, your questions, your feedback, and if you could, leave a review. As always, thank you so much for listening.